All right, so hi, we're back from break. We have a cat. She's meowing. Ooh, hi, okay. She's meowing. I guess I must have startled her. Cat eye in your face. So yeah, let's finish up. Let's finish up our winter holiday workshop. See, hey, after Foff says hi. Can you say hi? Come here. Look. Oh, what's this? A piece of cheese? Right here? Look. Huh? Hey. 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 Oh, there we go. Nope, okay. Yeah, what a fickle little thing. My fickle god should be a my fickle god should be a tortoiseshell calico. I guess it's kind of close. Let's take a look. There's red in there. So, I want to go over quickly with you all the basis for the exercise that we're going to be doing in the workshop tonight. Because last week, we developed 4 characters using NPC and villain creation methods that were acting as a personification of a holiday. Well, but, you know, the cat butt cold spark is really based off of Raichi. So, Nisa here kind of gets her own little, I guess she just need to get her own, maybe I just need like a calico butt and a tabby butt. And, we go from there. So yeah, we made 4 personifications of holidays through our DM workshop in creating NPCs and villains. From there, we used the Dungeon Master's Guide and a little bit of random rolling, and we ended up making, well, here's our villains, but of course, this will be more directly referenced. We made our settlement. Where do these characters live, or where did they live, or what is the culture that lives there that came up with them as a folk story, or as a god or goddess, or as a cautionary tale? And we even went so far as to map... Oh. Apparently that just super interested her. Did you see that? She's sniffing the volcano right now. Her nose is right about here. But then again, her nose is also kind of following the mouse around too, so there's that as well. So we went in MS Paint. We made a map of the area to help let us know geologically what is this place like, and how could that influence anyone who lives here, be they aquatic or terran in nature. And actually, our 2 races that live here they're amphibious. They're both, which works out well considering all the water here in our mountain swamp environment here, as they live in an old volcano in these 2 caldera lakes in the marsh that has sprung up around it, with the rivers flowing through with the snow melt. We went over topography and a lot of other things. That's not as relevant as realizing that we can reference this. Then we started by making our 2 holidays that were based off of our NPCs that we created first. And we didn't go back and give them names yet, but the first one is a holiday to promote societal harmony, finding peace and stability through the harmonization of music, namely through the custom glass ones made in the region. The traditions, we tempered glass ornaments each family has by casting them into the fire to be renewed and cooled. Everyone must immolate something that everyone shares in the loss. Music is everywhere, and new ways to use glass as a music medium are explored. Taboos, breaking glass, extinguishing fires, and gambling. Hey, PV, good to have you back. Common symbols, and we did also create some common symbols here. Was something like this hourglass that looked like 2 volcanoes, and there's a red sand that sort of went between them, because who knows when the volcanoes may go off again. You know, time is a precious thing, and glass is important in this society. And then this kind of symbol that's a little bit of a lick of fire, and then a water drop, and kind of a yin-yang here of red and blue. We made some garland. Garland made from swamp roses and lake grasses. Instead of something like a Christmas tree for this wintertime holiday, families have effectively like baking soda volcanoes that they set off, and neighbors try and outdo each other with, I don't know, ones that might blow bubbles and others that have, different colored, different colored vinegars interacting with the baking soda. Some might have little like miniatures fleeing in the face of the rolling foam, things like that. And some other customized things. It includes food and greetings, songs, and all of these for this holiday and for the second one. All these are little things that you as a dungeon master can include very easily in your world to really help bring it to life. Especially sniff sniff. Especially scents. If you describe how a place smells, that can do a lot to enrich your storytelling. You're about to have your first session of your 8-player campaign. Ooh, so you got a big group. In 2 weeks, it's been 6 months in the works, and I'm absolutely over prepared. Well, Base, I certainly hope that you are prepared to, all right, I got these 10 prompts, and if they don't choose this, then I'll flow into this, and then suddenly, as you describe exactly what we're doing, I don't know, you narrate they go into town, and there's a little girl selling flowers, and even though she was just there as a decoration, I guess in several sense, suddenly the party's like, this is it, this is going to be our mission, we got to protect the girl, what's going to happen, and all of your other prepared notes or even other things that you have scattered in, like, no one here seems to trust the mayor, but he seems to get elected anyway because you came into town during election time. You're going to find that the party is just going to be like, little girls selling flowers? We need to find out what's going on here. Where's she getting the flowers? How much do they cost? Why is that? Why did you say that only the one was pink and the others were red? Was it a signal? Is she a part of a thieves guild? Suddenly you look at all of your notes and you scramble to think how they all tie to apparently a little village flower girl who's the front of a secret fraternal order, wink, who is giving the signal of apparently an assassination attempt so that a new member can sort of blood themselves into the Brotherhood. And then, of course, this turns into a fight, and they realize that the person who tried to kill is just a kid who's on his luck. And then, and so they find out that actually, he and other kids have been like prepared by sort of like a Fagin from Oliver Twist, and then suddenly like there's a target because now there's this evil guy in town and he's corrupting kids. He's trying to get him into the Thieves Guild by teaching him how to pick pockets and how to murder people. And then this just goes and goes and goes, and it all started with a little girl with a missing front tooth, freckles on the cheeks, handing out the one pink rose to one of the players that you even rolled randomly. I mean, is anyone out there going to argue that this is how something like this ends up? I'll have you all know, the Tuesday game was only supposed to be like a couple-month experiment. I had no idea how it would go. I had, I was just, it was really my first time presenting online, and I'm like, we're going to go through a story, fun little story, thematic to the setting we made in the workshop. It'll take a couple months. We just had session 76. Well, Base, if you think it'll happen, excellent. You're prepared for it. So yeah, you can tell we're storytellers. We love telling stories. We're through random dice rolls in our imaginations, we're coming up with a culture for these people. We're coming up with the way that they dress, the way that they speak, the songs that they sing, underwater, above water. Their economy is getting fleshed out because of these holidays. Then we had our second holiday was kind of a day of transformation. It was based kind of on the Bodhi, or the Body holiday, that celebrates Buddha obtaining enlightenment, where this historical figure from the village that existed on this site before the volcano erupted. Thank you. Clearly this has nothing to do with any sort of cheese that we snacked on. And it has everything to do with just pure affection. Facehugger. Oh, okay, thank you. So there was an old civilization that was here. And then the volcano happened. And this is actually going to be how we're going to introduce our first villain and our villainous concept that is going to represent a holiday. In fact, it could even sort of piggyback on one of the two we've already made, especially this enlightenment one. You know, so the first one is the reflection of death, the acceptance. It's an inevitability. It is simply the beginning of a transformation into what you won't know, but at least things do continue on after that. Pardon me. And here is the beginning of our third holiday. Daly says, best praise I ever got from a player was, wow, you really know us so well. You have every possibility mapped out. I have no clue what these crazy people might do next. Yeah. Just don't let them know that. Don't give away the secret, Daly. PV says, any tips on buying mass minis for a decent price rather than individually? For example, if I want 10 random dwarf NPCs, any way around buying each piece individually or in groups of 2? Base, if you want particular minis, talk to me and I'll see what I can do for you. And if you're gonna buy sort of like as a bulk, then I can work with you in that regard. Either because there's particular minis you want to adopt through our orphanage, because for people who get larger orders, I always accidentally spill a couple extras in, especially if they're ones that I knew that they wanted. Or we can work on another way to make sure that you're getting an army that you want. But if you send me a message about it, Base, then I'll do my best. Otherwise, you know, hey, I'm not the only game in town. You can check eBay to see if there's people who are selling their minis by the lot. You might even find it like lot of 10 dwarves or something along those lines. There might be also other people in our community that you can do some business with, because maybe they have a particularly large mini collection that they're willing to work with you on. So you have options. And Nisa is staring into your soul. My goodness. What a face. Yes, or that... Oh, that's true, Daly. That is true. Here, Nisa, can you wink for me? Can you give an acknowledging wink, please, to Daly? Please? Here. Ready? Acknowledging wink? Nope. All right. So, who is the character that we personified to be the basis of this third holiday? Bloop. We're going to minimize this. And we can always reference the setting and other documents that we need. If you all have questions on, well, have you decided on this? Or, well, did anyone say anything on that? We can always go back and explore. Otherwise, if this is the first time that you're hearing about this exercise and what we've done, and this is starting fresh in a vacuum for you, that's absolutely fine. Open ideas are welcome here. Especially because they might challenge the things that we've grown comfortable with, and so we're kind of getting sloppy or lazy with our inspiration for holidays and apparel, decorations, and the like. You know, her face is kind of matching this music pretty well. Human, don't you talk to me like that. Don't talk about me behind my back, in front of me, but behind me. Oh, gosh. All right. We rolled a giant that's bent on plunder. A character who takes things. The objective or the scheme, revenge, or to avenge the death of a loved one. The methods here are through magical mayhem or illusions. The villain is destroyed if it speaks its true name. So some kind of a recognition, some kind of an acceptance needs to occur. We rolled some details for the character here. And we actually rolled that this is... so as a giant, I mean, you know, you could have giant cats, you could have giant people. So we rolled that we have a giant siren for the race, who also ended up being a monk Way of the Long Death, which is what our last NPC was, and this gave us a very interesting connection. As well, he is a lore bard, and also a bit of a lawyer in this regard, I guess regarding property rights or some other such things. He has a distinctive crooked posture, draws beautifully, which we could extrapolate to be a part of the illusions, you know, beautiful illusions. Uses colorful oaths and exclamations. Is very irritable. His ideal is simply neutrality. You know, while we have a villain and someone who takes, the taking isn't for a purely selfish reason. It is a selfish act done for an ultimately not selfish reason in the context of what we were coming up with. You know, he's not like, yeah, no, I'm going to kick all the puppies in town, and all the orphanages will also burn to the ground. And he is in possession of some forbidden lore. So here's our villain. And what we had come up with off of this, and especially as it ties into our setting, was that he also was someone who lived in this city before the volcano erupted. The volcano erupted, and unlike the little girl who fled and went on to accept change and went on to accept death and went on to this more ascetic just rationalization of life and things. Here we had someone who couldn't let it go. What he might have been even responsible. What if he accidentally summoned the volcano? Or that's one take on it. This is your world, you know, if you adopt this anyway. You know, it's your decision. So for some reason, he might feel guilty or very attached. He could have been very wealthy or influential. And this is the beautiful part of us starting with the holidays by personifying the holiday. Because now that we have this image, it is easier for us to imagine the thoughts and feelings of that as a person who existed mythologically or historically or religiously or any other alley. Because we feel those same things. We create these avatars so that we can, you know, so that we can look at ourselves in reflection. Shoot, there's a quote from Train Spotting, although it's I mean it was featured in Train Spotting, but the quote's actually from Dr. Deepak Chopra, that it talks about the perception of an enemy, where, you know, an enemy, or I think it might have been more specifically like the concept of the devil. You know, the devil doesn't exist. It's your ego manifesting a devil, so you have someone to blame, or that your ego has something to blame other than itself. So that, you know, you can assign, well, a devil must have tricked me, even though you're the one who made the poor decision that led to whatever incident that has occurred here. Or through the random circumstances of life. A bird pooped on you. Well, was that really a devil's fault? You know, if we can blame someone else, we might feel better, even if it's a stress relief mechanism. So we've created these devils. Our egos have created these devils. And if anyone out there has that particular quote, if you can share that quote in chat, please, though a text quote, not a link, I'd appreciate it. If any of you know what I'm talking about, the Deepak Chopra quote, or at least the part from Train Spotting that was being referenced. So we create this character. So if someone who didn't necessarily live or was changed and was changed over time by this, bent by the weight of guilt and by the chains holding him back to a time that can never exist. This is a character that is a representation of mournfulness, regret, pettiness, or even spite. Almost like a Jacob Marley. I mean, if we want to talk winter holidays, Christmas, A Christmas Carol, we have a Jacob Marley rattling his chains, telling Ebenezer Scrooge, "Don't be like me. Don't follow this path. It leads to misery and purgatory." And if there's ever an orangutan in the jungle when you're hanging out going, "I want to be like you," you should also be suspicious. Anyway. All the references. We went from Train Spotting to Jungle Book. This is... I mean, y'all are here for hopefully an interesting ride as we have our workshops. Anyway. So we have this character who represents grief, and as that manifests, right, we have a giant bent on plunder. Every time you're tempted to react in the same old way, ask if you want to be a prisoner of the past or a pioneer of the future. Is that what shoot, was that also a quote from that movie? Or is this, do you want this to be a cultural, like an actual saying of some kind? So yeah, we have a character, and so if you misplace things, or of course, if children are being bad, and you gotta have a boogeyman to watch out for, it's kind of like Krampus on Krampusnacht. This siren, this giant winged person that is bent with age and misery will come out. And, this is the character that steals one sock out of your dryer. This is the character that steals your car keys. Now, the fact that you find him in your couch cushion, an hour later, well, that's... he stole them. And so when people or things go missing, it is thought that this character has emerged from some deep place. Like if people think that the village is buried under the volcano's remains, steal someone, their soul, their person, parts. I mean, we can have like a Slender Man type thing, like super creepy SCP stuff. Do y'all want to make an SCP entry out of this thing? We could. Oh, okay, yeah. There's so that good Dr. Daly. If none of you have read Dr. Chopra's philosophies, you might not agree with them. I don't know. Maybe you will. But he certainly has some very thoughtful sayings and quotes and stances to at least get you to reflect and make the decision of, you know what, I'm still comfortable with who I am and how I think. Or you might go, that's not a bad point. Maybe I'm not going to completely jump to the other side on this, though at least, we were using our big brain energy. I mean, we have enough of it. All you big brains out there, let the energy flow. So this villain takes people and things back to this lair, lost in time, buried beneath the volcano, so that he can try and repopulate and rebuild the village. In this vain hope. And so this is where the neutrality comes in. Because you have a character that takes and steals, although, of course, that only seems to happen to the bad kids. So maybe the bad kids had it coming. And ultimately, it's actually to try and bring back his people because he's so sad that the end times are gone. That the world is no longer as it once was. And I will tell you all out there, in our modern world, we have cultural tales of this. I mean, we have the concept of something being grandfathered, or that the older generation is always out of touch, or that always pines for a golden age that existed, and yet every generation has a golden age. It doesn't seem that they all match up. Even go back and look at look at cultural stories. Look at the story of Cain and Abel, and setting aside any vampire lore that is also associated with that, look at that story. Look at that story as an allegory for the old hunting and gathering primitive lifestyle and people that we once were being ousted by tool-using agrarian people, by people who raise animals, like donkeys, perhaps. People who use tools to farm the lands. People who can stay in one place and aren't forced to move around, and just are able to hunt in the bounty of animals provided by God, or by if you have a different take, a different religion on it. In Cain and Abel, God has given us all that we need, and so for a hunter-gatherer, every day you're like, heck yeah, there's berries on every bush. Every day is summer. Yeah, I want to eat deer. There's one right over there. I want to, reproduce. I don't have to worry about seasons because I have food, and my children will have plenty of game and whatnot. And now in this modern world where that's not the case, we lost that primitive self. That primitive self was killed by ourselves. We killed our older self, our other self, with a tool, with the product of the domestication of animals that we never did before. And from here on out, this is who we are. This is how we live. And, there's people who do want to go off the grid, and they want to be survivalists or preppers or whatever you want to call them. But in today's society, those are looked at, fringe or nutcases, or just, all right, fine. I have no problem with you doing it. You're living your life. But for the, 11 other billion people that don't, this is our society. We killed our old selves, and there's no going back. This is the curse or the mark that we bear. And so here, we kind of have this Cain and Abel story, in a sense. Or a representation thereof, or again, a Jacob Marley, if you want to be, I'd say, more secular. It's technically a Christmas carol, but it's also a kind of a folklore take, and kind of a 2 steps removed from the, from, I guess, the core of Christmas. But this is who we have. We have this SCP, this Slender Man that comes out from the mist of time, filled with regret, and takes things and people to try and rebuild for a day that could never happen again. And if anyone ever stumbles across, this old Pompeii, actually was the prompt that was brought up in this regard. If anyone ever comes across this old Pompeii-style city buried beneath the volcano, or, contained in one of the flooded caldera caverns, then it would be a super creepy place. It's a place it'd be like a Shadowfell manifestation kind of a thing, with like manifest regret. I'm doing a lot of talking here. Hello? Hello? Those are my cats sometimes. Those would be in another room going, hey? Anyone there? There was a great line from I, Claudius. 2 historians are talking to Claudius. First one says, things certainly are not the way they used to be. The second historian says to Claudius, things never were the way that they used to be. I like it. I love these little reflective things. And hopefully for all of you out there listening, this has been, I know we're a D&D stream, and here I am kind of giving a miniature lecture on, I guess, on history, philosophy, to a small extent religion. Not that I'm proselytizing anything on anyone here. You know, but this is a part of culture, and we're talking about holidays. We're talking about considerations and philosophies. After Fov, that's a very good quote. And so this is now the holiday. We're gonna get into the holiday spirit, everyone, because we have our holiday spirit. It's this character. And so let's go down our worksheet and start developing this observation, this holiday. You know, it may not be a time where everyone busts out their lights and wears their fancy dresses around town, though, you know, it could just be more of a social remembrance. It could just be, you know, something that passes, or, you know, a lot of us might celebrate. We have St. Patrick's Day coming up. You may not celebrate it, you know, religiously, but a lot of people celebrate St. Patrick's Day by offering oblations in another variety. Prepper's gonna, you know, Greenwald. There's a really good YouTube that I love watching. Guy lives on a ranch, I think, out in Utah, and you know, he studied. He still took university courses for like modern science and such, but he goes back out to his ranch, and he does things like. Like he goes over. He was digging a mine because there was an old mine on his property, and he was digging back into it and showing how you can, you know, showing what to do and things to consider in doing some tests for minerals and such. He went out in one episode to a local highway at like 3 a.m. when no one was driving, and gathered like a bucket of like road dust and whatever. He harvested. I think, maybe like half an ounce of platinum. He put all of that road debris through a chemical process and actually was able to get the platinum from the catalytic converters to precipitate out of everything else. And he did it with gold, and there was also some old mercury that he found in a barn, and he was able to get gold to precipitate out of that. And there was one on making gunpowder out of urine and hay, and treating it to get the proper levels of things you need to make a primitive gunpowder. It's cool stuff. It's really cool stuff. You know, if you sit and learn about it, there's a lot of stuff. Anyway, I'm sorry, I'm detracting again. Let's close this. For some reason, if I leave a PNG open too long, it just seems to, my computer just goes into like a memory drain, and things start chugging. I don't know why, but it seems to happen when that's the case, and when when the PNG file closes, it's, oh, hey, I can think again. So anyway, what is the point? What is the point of our holiday? Well, you can after FOV, and that's why many municipalities will extract, when they extract or separate out wastewater to then turn into treated water. The waste, you know, I'll be, you know, decent about it. The waste and the things that have been extracted are often sold to farmers for fertilizer. You know, you know, some places will like haul it out in a honey wagon. I mean, they'll haul it out in a honey wagon and spread it out on a giant like acre-wide concrete slab to kind of dry out and to turn into like a more proper manure. It's just manure from people. There's all sorts of nutrients and other chemistry experiments that can be explored with it. So the point of this holiday, you know, from everything that we discussed, it's a time of letting go and moving on, as well as the forgiveness of past regrets. And if you want to say sins or trespasses, as you forgive those who've trespassed against you. Again, think of prayers, think of sayings, think of things that are going to enrich the setting. and we have a winter holiday of reflection. In some cases, that's how we treat New Year's. Tabula rasa, a blank slate. Or if you are the type who is seeking forgiveness, or you're seeking an example of innocence, then if you look to Christmas, if you look towards other holidays as well, there was the old Persian Sada, Sadeh, I think it was, and that is the it's actually the fight against the darkness. Shortest day of the year. With fire, it's a fight against the night and the cold. In this case, we can still represent it with fire if we wish, or a different color, or just something else all the same. But I think that this is definitely a point of learning to let go, of learning to mourn. It's okay to cry or seek forgiveness on this day. Maybe there's even like a criminal amnesty. Pardon. There could even be a criminal amnesty on this day. Or a purge. It's kind of the same thing, right? There was a good meme that it was referring to the purge, and everyone's like, I'm gonna kill my neighbor because he upset me, and like, oh, I'm finally gonna get that stupid yipping dog, and then everyone who's like the government that's sponsoring the purge is like, yes, all of you fight amongst yourselves and fall into your base desires. And then a couple of them are like, I'm going to perform insider trading for the stocks of my own company. And the government's like, well, hold on. And another person is like getting into contract law and just start doing doing things that I guess aren't as thrilling in a in a novel, but are still crimes all the same, especially when it comes to things like taxation and income and all this other stuff. And the government's like, well, hold on, be reasonable about this. Meanwhile, they're cackling the whole way that someone wants to like kick a chihuahua that some like prudish old lady or whatever keeps having yip at him. As long as you're not, if we can all agree, as long as we're not using magic missile to attack the darkness, because that is just redonkulous. Our primary tradition. What is our tradition? Do we have... well, it was indicated before that the families that live here have, little shrines in their house. And it could be ancestral worship. It could be a god or a goddess. Is our tradition to speak to our ancestors, to those who've come before, or even if they're not our ancestors? What if it's to speak to the spirits of those who lived even before our ancestors? If we're the ones who found ourselves here. Or if secretly as DMs we know that we're the product of the people that were here beforehand. Ooh. You know how in Zelda, the Zoras turned into bird people to escape Hyrule when it completely flooded? Well, I don't control evolution. But that's apparently the narrative, is that the fish people turned into bird people when all of Hyrule flooded. In this case, we might have had a species of bird people, of sirens. People who lived in the mountains and hunted in the grasslands, something along those lines. And then their village was consumed by the volcano, and they changed into amphibious people because of all the water everywhere. Why not? It's our story, and we might have even forgotten that we are the future generations of those bird people, even though we're fish people. Cool, huh? World building? We're talking geological timescale, evolutionary timescale, a cultural development, the development of thought and tool use in religion, all because we just generated a hunchback siren that likes stealing things because he's upset that his city got destroyed. If it's a holiday of goodwill, one of the statues could represent the stranger. Oh, you mean one of the chimneys? So maybe maybe there's a chimney that always smokes, and it's thought to be a chimney that like if anyone goes down the chimney, that's where that society still exists, because that's the smoke from their cooking fires, and there are other things to keep warm or whatever. After fall, that might not be a bad idea. So in the city, you know, if we say that maybe this one always smokes. Maybe it's called the perch or something. You know, it has like an overhang, and that's where the giant siren lurks and watches over here, waiting for people, bad kids, so that they can be snatched up and drugged, you know, stuffed down the chimney to be turned into a lump of coal. Let's have fun with it, right? I like that idea, After Fav. So I guess it would be goodwill. Maybe it's a holiday more of awareness and forgiveness. And so, you know, goodwill is a part of forgiveness. Though, you know, you don't have to, if you forgive someone for slighting you, it doesn't mean you have to like that person. So, you know, it might not be like a super happy-go-lucky one, but this is one where you're asked to find forgiveness in someone, or perhaps to help someone find something that they've lost. So traditions, let's say that, oh, what if it's almost like an Easter egg hunt? You know, so the parents, or I guess it'd be like, you know, the parents putting the Christmas tree presents around the house for the kids to find. Primary traditions, you know, to teach responsibility and to teach about loss. Parents will scatter toys for their kids in order for them to be sought after, and keep one hidden away, which will never be found, quote unquote, to help teach about loss and moving on. The toy taken is then given as a gift to another. To show oh, all right. Well, hey, welcome. Stay up late with us, Ivalon. Toy taken is then given as a gift to another, to show to be a token of forgiveness. Does that sound cool? I mean, other traditions, you know, there could be costumes and things. People might dress up in what we would call maybe plague doctor masks to, you know, kind of give like the hooked beak, and kind of like, and you put a hunch under a robe, and you kind of pretend to flap around. Maybe as the kids are, you know, the parent would dress up instead of as a Santa costume. They'd, you know, they'd wear this, and they'd be like, "I'm coming for your toys, kids!" And the kids like, "Ah, no, we got to get all our toys." And they gather it, but then, you know, little Susie the merfolk is like, "I can't find my favorite barnacle." And you know, then the villain's like, "I took your favorite barnacle, and you'll never see it again." And then makes a dramatic exit, and then, you know, little Susie merfolk is like, "Oh, that was my favorite barnacle. I played with that barnacle all the time." And then meanwhile, you know, Ma and Pa, you know, behind the scenes, like, "Yeah, we're just going to give the barnacle to the Johnsons because, you know, we didn't really get along with them, but I think that this year's the year that we got to give the taken to them, so that we can move on and we can learn to forgive, and that we don't keep our hunchbacks," or something like that. Yeah, well, I mean, look, just as like Halloween is built around spirits that will just straight up abduct you or do bad things, just murder you in the woods. You know, so too we have a holiday that has an SCP, a spoopy character. After Foff says, "Makes me think of the mysterious button. You press that button and you're granted great wealth, but someone you do not know will die. And afterwards, the box is given to someone you do not know. Yeah. I love psychological thought experiments like that. Afterfall, man, keep that stuff rolling. All right, what is a taboo? What is something culturally that, if anything, there could be nothing. Maybe this is actually, you know, if it's the purge, it's the night where you could go and do dumb stuff, and you'll be forgiven because you got to get it out of your system. You gotta, you know, so maybe not like kill your neighbors, and especially don't embezzle from your company. But is there something that we shouldn't eat? Is there a color or a style that we shouldn't wear? Is there a word that we shouldn't utter? Or is it a taboo to, I don't know, always, you know, you can't make three right turns in a row, otherwise, you know, so-and-so is gonna come after you. Well, I'd imagine greed, it would normally be a societal taboo, at least to some degree. Well, is there a particular application of the taboo? After Foff says, that's the first thing I'm doing on the night of the purge. I don't care about my neighbors. I just want to get the muns. Oh, okay. So then as a taboo, so it would be a taboo to have a it'd be a taboo to have a store open or to go to the store to buy something. It would be a taboo, perhaps even for a doctor, to ask for a fee to, you know, on this day. There's no taking. It's only giving. The doctor would give services. A store, if it's open, would maybe use that as a day of charity and give away food, because there's no taking. Gotcha. All right. So, taboos, no taking or buying allowed. Any transactions must be given freely. So maybe it would be like a, you know how we have like neighborhood trick or treats. You know, where a neighborhood gets together and maybe some parents all kind of group up and all their kids waddle around and try and spook the neighbors and such. So maybe a neighborhood gets together, chooses an area, and all the parents take their kids' toys and sort of dump them in the park and hide them around, and kids can just find any kids' toys. But some toys might go missing from the group. And those toys then are kind of given to another, maybe to the next neighborhood over, to show inter-community and like support and forgiveness. Gotcha. All right, Ivalon, is this why you can't sleep? Do you have big brain energy, Ivalon? Now, for the rest of y'all out there, do you like that as an idea? I think this works really well. And you know what? If you run this in D&D, especially because this is an aquatic society, this is your chance to have some fun 3D&D. A 3D scavenger hunt underwater. Here's the taboo. Something taken, like the child's toy, to teach about loss. But it's a huge taboo to keep a toy that you know who it belongs to. Oh, so like the toy becomes cursed on that night or something? If you take it, so it'd be a personal discretion. Like no one knows, you know, unless, I don't know, everyone kind of writes their name in their underwear and throws that into the park for people to find. You know, so I doubt everyone can keep track of everyone's toys per se, but it's a you don't have to search underwear. That was the example. People write their name on their underwear so others know who they are. Well, usually. No, that was just a tongue-in-cheek reference. But so yeah, it'd be more like the consideration of if you know that you're holding on to someone's, to someone's toy that you can identify, then that's a personal taboo that you might have bad luck. Hey, gang. What about a gang, Golden? And thank you very much for the re-up on that subscription. All right, personal taboo of possession. What is a common symbol or symbols? Do we have a wreath in a Christmas tree? Do we have a menorah? Do we have something even like for Passover, where the symbol is simply a red doorway? Do we have, particular shapes? Do we have particular, I'm not necessarily saying like decorations. Like a symbol is, I guess a symbol might be better as like the star, maybe not the Christmas tree per se. Though there's some bleed over that's allowed here. Is there something in particular that would be a symbol around this time of year that would be identified with it? If you look at, there's a lot of symbols that we know. If you look at something and it will help you recall a holiday, a faith, it'll help you recall a person, place, or thing. Some other noun that could be concrete or even an abstract noun. Let's say you reserve a toy from someone you know, and you know who the toy belongs to, and you keep it instead of pass. Yeah. I wonder if there should be a sin of regifting also. In our culture, I mean. Apparently in this one they know not to do that. Or at least it's done with a societal smokescreen where everyone kind of jumbles their stuff up. And oh no, that second toaster we got last year, it's in the park. I wonder who's gonna find it. Oh well. Something simple like a stone that an average person would not know what that means, but because of where the stone is placed, gives huge meaning. Okay. So a peculiar, we'll call like a peculiar stone of some kind. Also, hey, you know what? It was brought up above that this character lives in, on, or around one of these still smoldering volcanic chimneys. And so what about something like a or the chimney, or at least the shape? So it would be kind of like like the Black Mesa logo, or it would look like a smokestack from a factory in a cog, and we associate that with industry and other things. There's this concept, or the chimney. It could even be like a cloud of smoke with that looks like wings or has avian eyes, because remember, it's a giant siren that's the villain here. Sinister smoke. Yeah, some kind of a volcanic stone. Yeah. Igneous rock. What are some common colors? Black. Kind of nothingness. A separation of things, right? An emptiness. It could be used to represent or even try to hide from this person who wants to take things. Black might be one. It could represent the volcano, the stone, the smoke that still oozes up out of this underground society from whence it comes. Otherwise, were there any other colors that are coming to mind here? Black and red might be popular. This is also aquatic. And of course, I mean, if we're talking caldera lakes, depending on the sulfur or other chemicals or here or there, you know, you could get all kinds of shades and tones and hues, blue and green, and so what would be the to you, what would make this what makes it the color of the season? The idea is it looks ordinary, so a player character could pick it up and not realize. Oh, okay. It's a good way to separate the outsiders, huh? Although probably that's already done because we have Merfolk and Vidalcan. So if you're not blue and can't breathe water, that's a good indicator that you don't you're not native to these here parts. You know, and in this case, after FOV, if we have a character that's supposedly going around lurking and takes things or people, if we have decorations, we might actually have, we might put out a little trinket. I mean, it's kind of like putting out the lamb's blood on our doors in order to have the angel of death pass us over here. We might leave out. We might leave something out to be taken instead of our favorite whatever, instead of our son or our daughter. So a decoration, a decoy personal effect, or a doll or other effigy of someone important, especially if we don't like that person but don't want harm to come to him or her. So it's an outward sign of forgiveness. You know, if everyone in town knows that that Thelma and Louise just don't get along, you might find that Thelma and Louise actually put like a little scarecrow or an effigy or a doll of each other out, because while they're a feudin', it doesn't mean that they are angry enough at each other that they want this creature to come by and abduct them, especially because they're being cranky and onerous. So it's almost like a confession, almost like a seeking forgiveness, but it can also still send a social signal otherwise. Yellow and red is like coral reefs, but can also be like scales. Blue for water, green for the seaweed. And so something like that might grow in the swamp around the volcano too. So actually, I guess instead of black, we could actually have. Oh, you know what? How about this, Ivalon? For common colors, yeah, you know how during Easter time things tend to get a nice pastel. Around other holidays, we tend to have maybe intensities of colors. How about this? If this specter from the past is considered to be, covered in soot and ash, is this kind of dark, creepy figure, what if by decorating watercolors, of course they use watercolors, what if by decorating things brightly, that means that we can see dark shadows against a crowd, against a house? And so actually things are painted very bright and festively, or we wear festively bright colors. Because then if a darkness lurks among us, that darkness will stand out against the brilliance of the colors that we wear to try and drive off bioluminescent jack-o'-lanterns. Alright, so common colors. Primarily very bright colors and phosphorescence. Sorry, I missed. Hey, Fiora! Fiara, I misspelled phosphorescence, so y'all came in at a very embarrassing moment for me. So pardon that gaffe. Pony Chick, hello. Lenzabi, hello. Carl, howdy. Drinking Buddy, cheers. Drinking Buddy, I'm going to give you a cheers. I'm going to give a howdy. Everyone, we're using our big brains in here, and I hope that you all had fun and did the same thing. And the raid message from Fiora and friends is hashtag when fans help make custom music. Aw, that is good togetherness. And what kind of what kind of music? Now, Fiora, I did see that you posted in our creative section that song, and again, thank you for sharing your work of passion, and not just singularly yours, because you have a whole community. Even your hashtag is leaning into it. But your progress in this, seeing things come to this fruition, is wonderful. Ivlon is booping the Raiders. Adagio Rose, welcome. I hope you all can forgive me for not remembering how to spell phosphorescence. So common decorations, a decoy, personal effect, bright colors, painted or somehow, I guess, like displayed on residences. Luminescent plants set out to keep the long nights brighter. And maybe this is actually, it's like the anniversary. It's the anniversary of the volcano by the historic reckoning. You know, similar to how we here on Earth, we have several different calendars of several different reckonings. I mean, we have the BC AD or the BCE CE, Common Era. You know, there's lunar calendars that date back in other cultures. There's the Hebrew calendar that had its own start date. We have other things like, yep, there we go, Ivlon. The Aztec calendar that has its own reckoning as well. And so maybe by whatever ancient reckoning, this was set to be the day that the old village was consumed by the volcano and was the start of this character's descent into misery and regrets from the past, as this tale of woe is brought up once more. Speaking of Om Nom Nom, Ivlon, and everyone else, and Lord Azrael, thank you very much for putting me in my place. Oh, Fiora, you heart me? Oh, well, here. Oh, big ol' hearts back out to you all. Boop, 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 boop. To help them let go of the past where the volcano destroyed the village. I like it, almost as if they're appeasing the volcano. Yeah. And this plays into the other character that fled and actually accepted change of the old ways, of death. You know, the death of oneself, but the becoming of something else into a perpetuity, whether or not you are the same you that you were before. So it has a philosophical ring by not necessarily the opposite side of the same coin, but they share a similar mythological link. And thereby we're creating a very interesting set of stories to present over this winter time in this region that we've made. Now, what are some common foods? Is there something that we do eat? We talked about taboos. Oh my. We talked about some taboos, things that we shouldn't do. What is a common food here? Would it actually be is this when everyone breaks out their pumpkin spice seaweed? Is this when everyone makes a certain dish for comfort food? Or I don't know, is there actually something societal? If we're talking about something about letting things go, or or moving on, or the like. You know, does everyone, is there a custom to eat something that might be luminescent even on the inside and retains that property on the outside again? Or that there's some sort of a catharsis? I want to make sure I'm not going overboard with any imagery or implications here. But, you know, with this kind of letting go of oneself, is there some sort of a cathartic agent that is consumed that helps, you know, an herbal cleansing? How about that? Some kind of an herbal cleansing. Is it like bitter herbs and unleavened bread? You know, it's time to get through, and then, you know, you can pick up on the other end of things. Maybe some sort of translucent fruit, like a lychee or something. Yeah, I mean, we can have whatever we... thank you, ma'am. Yeah, that was right in the eye. Can I help you? What is your end game here? It's just a rub on the light? Okay. Guess that's it. A local transparent fruit. Yeah. A certain herbal cleanse to help old regrets pass. and offer us a fresh start after the holiday. Ready to nap? Then you're here at the best time. Catbutt is what makes this an official Matty Morg stream. So welcome aboard. Here she is in all her glory, a catbutt. Well, it's off camera now because she's rubbing on one of the LEDs off to the side. Now, what are three things that are said in as a blessing, as a curse, as, you know, like as a, you know, a bah humbug, or a short prayer, as something, I don't know, historical? You know, I thought, I don't know if it was Ivlon, someone put something up earlier that seemed like it would be a pretty good. It's like I feel chained or something. It was, you know, it was like you're putting yourself in the place of this regretful SCP. Is calling something like that, like saying, is like calling randomization, or just, you know, calling all that RNG? Is that the new thing? Are we calling all spoops SCPs? I have nothing against the SCP Foundation, mind you, but I guess it's a catch-all term, maybe, in this modern world. So 3 sayings or greetings. This is the time of letting go, of accepting the things that, yeah, it's almost like the, you know, grant me the strength to accept, and so forth. You know, that would almost be its own little mantra during this time. If there's a take on this that you wanted to present. You go up, it's a compliment. You tell someone, you've really let yourself go. Oh, why, thank you. Yeah, it's been a long-term project, but letting myself go has been my #1 self-care. Ivlon, like we're walking down the sidewalk, or we're swimming down it because we're merfolk, ready to nap passes by, and I sort of like tap you. I'm like, Reddy's really let himself go, huh? Let's skip ahead to the next one for 1 second. Number 1 song, Let It Go. I mean, it could be, it could very well be. There could be a let it go. No regrets. Be yourself. Forgive others from the past and any, anything that was inflicted on you. You know what? You got through it. You're alive. Continue on. Be a better person from it. Don't try and steal from others to build a past that can never happen again. Death ain't, no regrets. It's almost like a scolding or, a cautionary reminder. Revenge is the best revenge. And even something... Break walls, open minds. Is this some Great Teacher Onizuka reference going on right here? Is this a GTO reference going on right here? Ready to nap? Are we talking Great Teacher Onizuka? Lord, what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. That, in this context, is not as strong. While it is supportive advice, in the context of this holiday and the character, that wouldn't be... I don't think that would have the same sort of impact as what we understand that phrase to mean. It could simply also just be move along. Move along. Move along. Hey, move along. Yeah, I'm really moving along here. Yeah. It's moving day. So we have the mindful hymn, the solemn chant. Perhaps even, I don't know. Would merfolk or Vidalcan, if they have gills, do they have, like, throat singing? Or like Buddhist throat chanting? Is Let It Go a throaty hymn? Forward ever, backwards never. Forwards not backwards, upwards not forwards, and always spinning, spinning, spinning. So it's throat singing, or it might be like gill singing even. Either that, or you get that kind of Murloc. And let it go, let it go. And we need another song title. Yeah, thank you. So we have a throaty hymn called "Let It Go" that has you seek forgiveness and just moving on. Maybe something that is, maybe something also that might be, we talked about involving children and teaching them the lessons of learning things and giving to others. What would be like a kid's song this time of year? Well, it's something that our little merfolk hatchlings and our Vidalcan chant. I mean, and actually, Madden, forward ever, backward never. That might be a fun little, like a children's. Kind of sounds nursery rhymish. Yeah, they don't find out until later. It's not only just children's rhymes, but then when you learn just how much innuendo was in Animaniacs when you were a kid, but you didn't realize it. Is there some common clothing that is worn? A particular hat, a version of an ugly Christmas sweater. Is there perhaps this is when everyone puts on so a fez or a demi cape, or something that is seasonal. Something maybe common clothing might be like something with a bunch of pockets and pouches. Of course, what do you call a photographer's vest if photography hasn't been invented yet? Yeah, everyone, Merfolk and Vidalcan alike have fannies, and therefore they have fanny packs. Exactly. Everyone breaks out their festive fanny packs. Hi, says. Want to share this great idea. Secret Santa one-shot. Everyone draws someone from the group at random and creates a character. That person must play the next session. Oh yeah, that sounds very compelling. A lot of fun. Well, for many, some people might not like that challenge or feel a little under the gun there. But if your group is open for that, or you're looking to shake things up, says that is a great idea. It's like a utility vest, a spell components vest, maybe jewelry with lots of trinkets and pendants. Fanny packs and gaudy jewelry. I love it. And also, everyone's wearing super bright colors at the same... This is a very colorful time of year for just how dark it actually is based upon. You know, the destruction of an entire civilization and the morphology of eons of regret having on you. You know, that stuff. Hey, stop. Don't you sass me. Yeah, 80s rainbow bright colors. Oh, I love it. All right. And lastly, is there some kind of a common scent? Is it herbal? Is it chemical? Remember, chemistry, alchemic reactions. These are common. So is fire and ash in glass making, and with the volcano. Yeah, thank you for bopping the camera, ma'am. There are various foods or other things that people might put out that could have a good or even a bad smell. Around New Year's, people put out really yummy pretzels, and then other people have sauerkraut, and I don't know why. And it's done for cultural or gastronomic purposes. Gefilte fish. So that would be it's like gefilte fish or like Ludwigsk kind of a thing. Maybe it could be part of the catharsis you experience afterwards. Maybe there's actually like an old preserve from last year, and you have to. Hey, West River Rat, dead skunk. I don't know what kind of skunks do we have living here. Maybe there's a skunk fish. Lord Azrael saying cinnamon. What kind of? So I'm not against it. What is cinnamon as far as a scent? That what's being conveyed or what is supporting the what is supporting the reasoning for offering that? Toast might get very soggy underwater. I don't. Ready? Oh, okay. I wasn't sure what the reference was. Though, you know, the topic of things like... I have not watched Archer, so that would be why... Boo! Right over the head. If something like cinnamon were to come up, and we talked about things like a spell component vest, there are items that act as spell components, and if during this time of year there is a particular magical ritual which is commonly used in the equivalent of houses of faith or in public squares for displays or for safety or for whatever reason, I don't know. I don't know. Is there a requirement for Zone of Truth? If we have something like a confessional during this holiday too, that works well. I wonder if Zone of Truth has a... Verbal and semantic. All right. Maybe people have to gather massive amounts of spell components to give you the disinfectant smell you get in hospitals. I like the smell of the cones that pop up at Christmas that just blast you when you walk in. Really sets the mood for the season. Oh yeah, so we're looking for intensity. You know, we want things that harken back memories and nostalgia. You're correct, Lord Asriel. Then I guess the common sense would be various components gathered and offered. Hey, no. You're caught. No. Ma'am. Gathered and offered to, I guess what, like houses of faith for the year, as a kind gesture, and also, I mean, to keep things like, you know, healings and banishments and other services that they provide mechanically going as well. And so those can have there could be all sorts of secret herbs and spices to components. Okay, excellent. We have one more holiday.